We set aside anything that's leaving us on campus, and we just come here to meet God. And we just spend time with Him for 48 hours, and every time I've come here, I've just met Him in a really incredible way. And I've just been praying for that, for you guys, that you would meet Him, just that He would speak to you, that you would listen to Him, and that He would just apply that. So I'm just really excited for this weekend. I want to challenge you right now to just be intentional with that. Engage while you're here, talk to people, meet new people, ask them their story, and yeah, just be unfiltered, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm going to ask my new friend Dave Lamb to come up here. He's from Lake Ann Camp.
Welcome back, His House. We look forward to when you come each year because it's just exciting to see the way you connect with one another, the way you respond to what God's doing in your midst. And we've been praying for you as we've been preparing for you, and we're glad you're here. This is a special place. God has given us some amazing resources here, and He does amazing things here. And we've got something new this year. We have a new building called the ARC. It's, if you've seen it, it's kind of a big building, but you will engage it over the course of the weekend. ARC stands for Adventure, Recreation, and Connection. For the adventure, we have a high adventure side, and we have a field house for activities, including racquetball, volleyball, basketball, all those things. That's the recreation, adventure recreation, and then connection. We have a full coffee shop, camp store called the Red Canoe. We used to have one in an old building. This is an entirely new, remade, expanded thing. If you need coffee, if you delight in coffee, if you recognize coffee as one of God's good gifts, look for the Red Canoe and enjoy some coffee while you're here this weekend. I think there's posted some places, some signs that talk about hours that it's open, but a lot of opportunities up there in the building. We're glad to share it with you this weekend. One other thing, this is the time of year where we're hiring for the summer. We hire over 150 people each summer that help us deliver life-changing experiences, challenge individuals in a group setting to make biblical life-changing decisions. We hire college-age students for traditional camp counselor roles, but a lot of other departments, working in the coffee shop, working in high adventure, being lifeguards, being on the media team, lots of different opportunities. And some years we've had some His House students who come see the place, say, hey, I'm not sure what God's going to have for me this summer, but let's have a conversation. Check out our website, lakeandcamp.com, and you can get a lot more information about some opportunities if you're interested in exploring that, praying about that for this summer. So again, welcome. We're glad you're here. I'm going to introduce Casey. Casey's one of our interns, and he is the host for this event this weekend. Your leaders have his number on call 24 hours a day, and he's ready to deploy all of our staff to meet any needs or respond to events that happen, and he's just got some guidelines for you. Welcome, Casey.
All right, as Dave said, I've just got a few things to go over with you. Some informational, some more procedural. So bear with me for just a minute. Pay attention, please. It is important. First off, welcome. Thank you guys for coming out. We appreciate you guys here. First off, I've got for you, if you need Wi-Fi this weekend, because I know a lot of you will probably ask this question of the Red Canoe, and they'll be like, please, we just wanted this information out there earlier. So I'll give it to you now. There is Wi-Fi in the Welcome Center. It's the Linksys network, no password required. There's also Wi-Fi in at least parts of the new ARC building. That is called Lake Ann Camp, no password required once again. So to preclude that question, there you go, there's your Wi-Fi information. Other details, Dave mentioned the Red Canoe being open. I have those hours for you, and those are also in your pamphlet, I noticed. The Red Canoe will be open 7:30 to 9 tomorrow morning, as well as 1:30 to 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. And then again on Sunday morning, 7:30 to 9. So those will be your 3 opportunities to get in the Red Canoe, get some coffee, get some merchandise. A couple of key details other than that. Vehicles on camp. Most of you guys are already parked out in the main lot. That's awesome. If you know somebody with mobility issues and they need to get up closer to the dining hall, for instance, we have that circle drive out there. If you have mobility issues, you're welcome to use that circle drive to park by the dining hall temporarily, but we're going to try to keep that area free of cars for a couple of reasons: for emergency response, for plowing, for just the whole camp experience. So if you do need to use it, go ahead, but please otherwise keep your vehicles to the main parking lots. I have some guidelines for the tubing hill. If any of you guys are planning to be tubing tomorrow afternoon, these are important for you guys. These are posted up on the hills as well. But a couple of safety rules just so we don't have any accidents out there. First off, please don't go down the hill until somebody else has cleared the hill. Like if they're still sitting at the bottom, don't run into them. We don't really appreciate that. They won't appreciate that. Also, only one rider per tube, please. And then don't link your tubes to form trains. It sounds like a lot of fun, and it is, but it also presents some safety hazards, so we're not going to do that, please. There are some black inner tube style tubes out there. Those are able to link into trains, but the blue and the red ones, please do not link into trains. All right? Don't build jumps. It sounds a lot of fun once again. It's not when you land. And then, speaking of that, don't jump over, like the tube in progress and you just want to jump over in front of them. Bad idea. You don't want to kick them in the head, so please don't do that. That's most of that for tubing. Let's see, what else we got? Oh, we have a nice lake out here. It's called Lakeview Lake. It's frozen over right now, but please don't walk on the ice. As much as it may be frozen over, and it may have been really cold recently, it is a spring-fed lake. We don't want to have the risk that somebody would fall through because it's over a spring spot, so please do not go on the lake ice this weekend. Also, if you have any kind of injury or accident this weekend, we would like to know about that. Let your leader know and they'll let us know. That way we have appropriate documentation on file, just for our records. Also, if there's an emergency, like people dying kind of emergency, or fire, please go ahead and call 911. But then after you call 911, have your group leader get a hold of me. We have some procedures relating to emergency vehicles coming on camp that we need to know about those emergencies right after 911 does, okay? So please call 911 first, but then I need to know after that. And lastly, your group leaders all have my phone number and they can get a hold of me anytime. So if you have a need, please let them know. They'll pass that along to me and I will take whatever action is necessary to get you guys set. All right? Cool. Have a great weekend.
That is a little new this year, and I'm just really excited about it. We have some international students that are here, and I don't know if you guys know how cool that is. We have all tribes and all tongues and all nations that are in this spot worshiping God. Just think about that person. Yeah, he's excited. Oh. Okay. Anyways, so for international students, we actually have a morning session for you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, right in the new ARC chapel. So if you don't know where that is, just ask the person that brought you here, and they'll tell you. And if they don't know, they'll ask someone. And we'll get you there eventually. So that's what you need to know. So if you see someone maybe who doesn't know, and this goes for non-international students too, if you see someone who doesn't really know where they're going, just help them out, and it'll be great. So yeah, we're excited that they're here. So I do have, okay. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about just our theme for the weekend. So our theme is unfiltered. And then you're probably sitting there and you're like, man, Jesse, I have got unfiltered down. I was almost hit by a car on the way here and I had a very unfiltered response. And not quite. authentic and it's real. And it's something that, I don't know, maybe you can relate where sometimes you hide behind social media and you're on Snapchat, you put nice filters up there and you look good, but it's not authentic. It's not real. We want the real version of you, and that's exactly what God wants too. He just wants you to come as you are. So we're going to be talking about that a lot this weekend in our main sessions, in our workshops, in our community groups, and just in our campus times, so many different places where we'll be able to just be unfiltered and see what God has for us this weekend. So I'm glad you're here. I would encourage you just to really just dive in and see what God has for you. I'm going to pray, if that's okay, and then we can go back into some worship. So, Heavenly Father, we thank you for who you are, God, that you will meet us right where we are. Father, whether we have known you for 15, 16, 17 years, God, or if we have just heard of you the other day. We know that you know exactly who we are, that we don't have to hide behind our social media. We don't have to be something that we aren't, but God, that you delight in exactly who we are. So I pray that this weekend that you would just remind us of that truth. Father, that we would just delight in spending time with you. Father, that we would delight in spending time with other people here this week. And God, that we would just be listening to what you have to say for us. God, we love you, and we just pray this all in your name.
Fountain I drink from, oh, he is my God, you are our living hope. You breathe life into us. God, you gave life to us that day you rose from the dead. We thank you so much for it, God.
And the cross you took, and
I know at Grand Valley. But really, he speaks with passion and excitement. And you guys, he loves Jesus so much, and he has just an amazing message that he wants to share with you, and that's from God. And I'm going to ignore that. But really, he does. He has just an amazing message. He has a heart for college students. And every time I hear him, I learn things from him. Just because he's really good at pointing people to Jesus. So while you're sitting here, I want you to listen, because he's got something really good to say. And I'm excited that he's here and that he's speaking tonight. So come on.
Where a professor assigned you an assignment, and your first thought is, oh my goodness, that's exciting and a little bit scary. A couple of months ago, my friend Kevin, he said, hey Scott, we'd like you to speak at the winter retreat on Friday night. I said, oh, that's cool, okay, way to go. What do you want me to speak on? He says, well, he said, we need you to get people excited about recognizing sin in their lives. So strap in, folks, because this is going to be fun. I will tell you that as I began reading, and as I began to engage God in His Word, I found things that were disturbing. I found things that were sad, and I found things that I didn't expect. I recognized something that I think we as a culture have begun to take this issue of sin, and we have kind of made it much smaller and more manageable. I don't know if you do that with other big issues in your life. Sometimes we can take something that's overwhelming and kind of ridiculous, and we try and repackage it, reform it. Unfortunately, what I think has happened here in our world today, we have taken this idea of sin, this word sin, and we've made it just kind of small and nice and manageable, and I can put it in my pocket and I can feel good about it, and it's okay. We don't talk about sin very much. Sometimes you will hear about sin maybe in someone's salvation story, their transformation, their moment when they are walking away from an old life and they're walking into something new, and it's almost like a byword. It's almost like well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, oh, there was that sin thing, and then now we're into this whole new thing. It's fantastic. And one of my favorite songs, and I'm so glad we sang tonight, New Wine. And I'm so glad we sang that just before I came up here, because I feel like that really embodies a lot of what we want to do and want to be as Christians, as followers of Christ. We want to be sold out to God, saying, please do what you want with me. Take this life. But in doing that, sometimes we minimize the effect and the power of sin and what was going on in our lives before we knew Christ and before we made a decision for Him. It's kind of a fun Bible study if you just type in the word sin into the Bible Gateway or into your YouVersion. Just type in sin and kind of see what comes back at you. There's a lot of different verses. There's a lot of different things in there, and we're going to jump into only a small portion tonight. We cannot possibly get into all of it. But tonight, as we consider this idea of what sin is and what sin does, I want to take you to just one passage in the Old Testament, one passage in actually the beginning. We're going back to the beginning, to the book of Genesis, and then we'll go to a few passages that center around a man named Paul and his amazing transformation, his amazing life-changing moment where he met Christ. If I could take you to one place here, if you have your Bible, if you have your Bible app, or maybe you have a paper Bible, you're going to want to go back all the way to the beginning. In And so this is Genesis chapter 4. And we come to this passage, and what I found so helpful about this passage was the fact that God introduces sin to us. And not in, hey, here's sin and humanity and have fun and go do. No, he introduces the idea of what sin is. And just from this short passage, we see that sin is a whole lot more powerful than what we give it credit for. So if you go with me to Genesis chapter 4, we're going to start in verse 1 and just work down just through a few verses. Now Adam and Eve, so verse 1. Now Adam knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have, this is such a weird word, I don't use it, gotten, that one is a weird one, gotten. I have gotten a man. Do you use the word gotten anywhere else in your life? No, that's okay. This is the ESV translation that they went for gotten. Okay, I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord. And again, she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of the sheep, and Cain a worker of the ground. And in the course of time, Cain brought the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel also brought the firstborn of his flock, of their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his face fell. We're not going to get into tonight all of the backgrounds. Why is one offering considered by the Lord, the other one is not? We don't know, and we are fairly certain that Moses was the one who penned this, who wrote this down, who gave us this history. God helped him to understand. Moses wasn't here, so God kind of helped it. Hey, here's what happened. Here's the conversation. Here's what it is. Moses wrote this down, and we get to read it, and we don't know what the reason was. We don't know why Cain's offering was not accepted by God, but he was angry. He was mad. I mean, can you imagine? This is Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel. We got only 4 human beings in all of everything. This is it. And